I bring you greetings all the way from Chi-Town, Chicago, my hometown and where Pastor Rick grew up at. And my church and ministry is God's Way Apostolic Faith Church. And my pastor is Pastor Mary Ann Richardson. So we're here just on this weekend celebrating all the celebrations that we had going on. My niece's engagement, her birthday was before. My brother's birthday is tomorrow. So, and this is actually the first time, I don't think he really thought about it. And at least, I want to say it's been our 35, 30. So I want to say maybe at least 15 years since it's been that our families have actually been together like that, and it's actually been that long since we have either one of us have been together on the other one's birthday. So when I saw that it was going to be his birthday, I'm like, I need to stay over because I was originally coming for my niece, but I stayed for my brother. That's my brother. I'm not long-winded. Bear with me. Why I am a people's person. There is always something about nerves, but they pray for me and God got this. I know the odds look stacked against you, and there seems there's no way out. I know the issue seems unchangeable, and that there's no reason to shout. But the impossible is God's chance to work a miracle, a miracle. So just know it ain't over until God says it's over. It ain't over until God says it's done. No, 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 no. It ain't over till God says it's over. Keep fighting till your victory is won. That devil trying to come in. I had COVID early this year and it messed with my voice, but I also want you to know it won't always be like this. The Lord will perfect that concerning you. 'Cause sooner or later, it will turn in your favor. Sooner or later, it will turn in your favor. And so you know it's turning around for you. Do you believe that it's turning? It's turning around for you. Do you believe that it can turn around for you on today? Well, come on, let's bless him on this place on today. We just thank God for being God. And I'm going to come from Genesis, the 19th chapter, the 24th through the 30th verses. And it reads, Then the Lord rained upon Sodom and Gomorrah, brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven. And he overthrew those cities, and all the plain, and all the inhabitants of the cities, and that which grew upon the ground. But his wife looked back from behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. And Abraham got up early in the morning to the place where he stood before the Lord. And he looked towards Sodom and Gomorrah, and towards all the land of the plain, and he beheld, and lo, the smoke of the country went up as the smoke of a furnace. And it came to pass, when God destroyed the cities of the plain, that God remembered Abraham, and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow. And when he overthrew the cities in which Lot dwelled, and Lot went up out of Zorah and dwelled in the mountain, and his two daughters with him. He had feared to dwell in Zorah, and he dwelt in a cave, him and his two daughters. And they already put it on the board, but for my subject it is, this don't have to be the end. Now, when someone dies, there are a few things that are left on their tombstones. Commonly on there's the birth date, the death date, and the dash in between. It is said that the birth or the death really is not what matters the most, but it's what's in between that matters. Now, I want you to really think about that dash and ask your own self as you go along this week, what will be in your dash? Lot, let's talk about Lot. Because Lot's birth date is not known. His father, though, was known as Haran. Haran died at an early age. But Haran was also Abraham's brother, who was originally Abram. So that would make Lot Abraham's nephew. Lot death date is not known. So what is in Lot's dash that people would remember? So let's go through Lot's story. After Haran, Lot's father, died, it appears that Abraham may have stepped up into more of a father figure role than just the uncle role. Now, if anybody like myself, before my beautiful nephews and beautiful niece, they got pulled over here to North Carolina, I was their babysitter. Them were my babies. Okay, so I made sure I took care of them. Now, here's Abraham. This is his nephew, and now not only is it his nephew, but his brother is gone, so he has no father. So he took him up under his wing, as you would have. And so Abraham, being the man that he was, because he was a God-fearing man, and he had favor with God. God told Abraham, you got to go. Pack your things, get from among your kindreds, your father, and you got to leave. So he got ready to leave. And when he left, he took Lot with him. Now, that's a blessing because he could have left Lot and Lot could have been on his own. Now, God had promised Abraham that he would make him a great nation. He would bless him. And in fact, Abraham himself would be a blessing. So that we find in Abraham's movement, God did in fact bless him. He blessed him. And Jacqueline Carr, anybody know her? She made a song that said, everything attached to me wins, right? So she says that. And if you read over in Genesis 13, we find that Abraham was very rich. He was rich in cattle and silver and gold. But not only was he rich, Lot, who was with him, had flocks, herds, and tents. Now, ask yourself, how did Lot get them things? And nowhere we read where Lot had a connection with God, but Abraham did. And when he took Lot, he took him with the intent of, if I win, you win. When I take my family with me, I'm taking them because I want to see my family win. Well, some people do, but most people, when you have love, as you all mentioned family earlier today, when you have love for your family, you want to see them make it. You want them, and you don't want to see them down. So here it is. Abraham took Lot. He's winning. Lot is winning. But together, both of them had so much that it became too much. Their herdsmen began to argue because if you can imagine, I'm trying to watch your cattle and you trying to watch my cattle, and they all look the same. We don't have a dividing line. There's nothing to separate them. How do I know what's yours and how do I know what's mine? So eventually somebody gonna say, no, that's mine. And then I'm gonna say, no, that's mine. So that battle became. And so when it first, it didn't get far. Abraham immediately said, hey, Lot, let's not fight. Let's not argue. Hey, this is what I'll do. And he was so gracious with it. He didn't say, I'll go here and you stay there. He gave him first choice. Where you want to go? You want to go to the right? I'll go to the left. You go to the left, I'll go to the right. So, no more arguing. They decide that they will go. So, Lot, he picked the plain of Jordan. He went over, and Jordan is right next to Sodom. Now, Sodom was very wicked and had sinners. It was bad in God's eyes. The Lord appeared to Abraham when after Lot was gone, and he basically was upset with Sodom. He was on his way, take it out. And at first he decided he wasn't going to tell Abraham his plan, but Abraham had so much favor with God that he decided, you know what? I guess I should tell him my plan, because he says that he knows that basically Abraham, whatever Abraham do, wherever he go, he always commands his family to worship me. He's not going to take anything less. So that's basically like if you live in your parents' house, it's whatever my rules are, you follow them or you got to go. And that was Abraham's model. We worshiping the Lord. We loving God. If you ain't loving God over here, you can excuse yourself out the door. So now God's like, okay, he tells him the plan. And so after he tells him the plan, Abraham like, wait a minute now. My nephew's over there. I don't want my nephew to die. We just separated ways because we both got a lot now. But I don't want him gone. I want him to stay here. So now he started asking God these questions, and he started throwing numbers out. And he gets to the last number. The last number was 10, and asking him, how many people would you spare the city for? And then God said, okay, yeah, 10. If I find 10, sure, no problem. Okay? But the two angels that were there, they went on about their way. And when they got to the gate of Sodom, Lot was there. And immediately, he welcomes them and fall down and worship them. Now, while Lot's worship life with God was not known, you had to know that he had some type of worship and prayer life. If he didn't have a little bit, but just a grain, he knew enough because who his uncle was. So because he knew something and there was good in him, he recognized the good that came. See, evil can't recognize good. It can stir it up, but when good is really in your presence, evil just try to keep the commits, keep it going. But when the people are coming and they don't know an angel is in your presence, you know that it says in the word, be careful how you entertain strangers, because you may be entertaining an angel unaware, right? So how did he know these men were good? What made him, this whole city around him is evil. What made him fall down and worship them? Something in his life had to bring in his spirit to say, you know what? I better fall down. So he begins to welcome them and beg and plead of them to come into his house, to eat and to sleep. And at first they was like, no, we just gonna roam this city. But he finally convinced them, and they went to his house. You know, it don't take long for word to get around for people. All it takes is one person. I went over here and I told Pastor Darlene something. And by the time I got through with Pastor Darlene, it reached all the way back there to the gentleman to my left. Okay? And when it come back, sometimes it don't always come back the same, but word get around. Now here it is. It's really crazy that not just a few gentlemen showed up at his house, but they said all the men in the city showed up. It take all of y'all to show up just to greet two people? Right. So, Lot tries to, he see them they knocking on the door and say, hey, let us get to know the people that's in the door, that's in your house. Lot like, yeah, I know what that means. So he goes out the door and he begs with them. Now, obviously, he has to know. This is the last clue that lets you know that he knew. If he didn't know these was angels, he definitely knew they was somebody special to God. Because who in their right mind would say, don't do nothing to these men that I don't know. I never seen the day in my life. I beg of you, but please take my 2 daughters that are virgins. They don't know nothing about the world. Just go ahead. Do what you will with them, however you see fit. I don't know about you, but I ain't finna send my virgin daughter out no door to be taken by no men I ain't never met. So it had to be something. Now, that ain't what they want. They threaten a lot. Say, hey, I'm gonna do worse than you than we was gonna do to the 2 men that's in your house. They tried to get them. It was a battle. The angels, they destroyed the first couple in the front, blinded everybody else's eyes so they couldn't see the door. Had locked the door, bolted him back inside. They give him a message, hey, God sent us. Now he know who they are now. God sent us to come here and destroy this city. If you have anybody in here, any daughters, any son-in-laws, anybody, whatever you got, grab them now and run. Get out. So originally Lot was like, okay. He goes to, and this is unknown, but when you look at how it's worded and when you research it, Lot had to have more than 2 daughters because they're calling these men his son-in-laws already. How would they be son-in-laws if he didn't have somebody married to him? And when you look at the context, when they tell him to leave, they say the daughters that are with you now. So he goes and tell these son-in-laws like, hey, we need to go. God finna destroy this city. They took him as a joke. All right, you don't know what you talking about. Go on here. Now, true story. I love my mother dearly, but this is a real true story that happened. And so I could understand, maybe I could understand why Lot wives didn't move. Because once you get married, your husband, that's the head of your house. You leave your father and your mother. They, hey, they say we not going, we staying. That's the agreement y'all have. And, it's a little bit different now because, now husband tell you something. You be like, I ain't doing what you said do and walk up out the door. Yes, we do that. But in the day, that wasn't heard of. The woman stayed where the man was and whatever he said do, she did it. So now they laughed at him. So I imagine he got 2 daughters that's there that he can't get because the husbands won't move. So he goes back, and this is what really makes me believe that this is true, because when he gets back to the house after he get his message, because he took it serious enough to go and tell them to come on, let's go. But when he get back to the house, he's contemplating. He's not running yet. He's contemplating instead of going flying for his life. Why? There's somebody else that he needs to take with him, that he wants to go with him, but he can't get him. But them angels said, you know what? All right. Grabbed his hand, grabbed his wife and his 2 daughters and took them out. He took them out. They took them out. Now, I know because, listen, there was a situation where my husband had just got back from, my ex-husband now, got back from the Navy. And when he got back, we were staying with my mom for a little while. And then she basically, and she wasn't wrong in a sense, she basically told him, you got to go. Because basically she wanted him to like catch a job right away. But she said, you got to go. And you know who went right with him? And there was a conversation between her and I. And she said, where are you going? She wasn't putting me out. She was just putting him out. But I said, Mom, you taught me that wherever your husband go, you go. I say, so if my husband got to go, I have to follow. That's still my husband. So that's why I'm saying when he went to go get them daughters, them son-in-laws, I believe he had daughters there, because why they call them son-in-laws, 1. 2, why was he contemplating after he got back? He saw what the angels was capable of when they smoked the people that was at the door that tried to get him. He knew this was not for play. He knew it was real. So now they don't took him, and they told them, don't look back. Why would Lot look back? Why was his wife look back? What would be her reasoning if it was nothing left behind? Something was left behind, which I believe were daughters left behind. So she took the chance. As a mother, could you imagine having to leave your kids in a city that's about to be destroyed and you know it? Imaginable. But then they get out because God gave them favor. And one of the reasons why he gave them favor was because of Abraham. The main reason actually was because of Abraham. Abraham prayed, asked God, keep his hand and his blood covering on Lot. Don't take him out. And so God honored Abraham because of the man who he was. Now, Lot gets out of that, he gets out of that situation, but understand he just lost a wife, and he also lost possibly 2 daughters. I can't imagine what his mind was thinking. It's an undescribable pain to lose a child. So what was he thinking? But he went to a part where he became fearful. So fearful that he took himself and his 2 daughters, and they was originally in Zoar, and they left out of there and went into the mountains. And he put them in the caves. That was the end of Lot's story. It didn't have to be the end. What was left in the rest of his dash that he possibly could have done? And yes, we will have tests, we will have trials, and we will have tribulations. And one thing we cannot do is always live on grandma prayers, daddy prayers, cousin prayers. You got to learn to go to God for yourself. What would be in your dash? Your dash is only good if God was in it. When he went into that cave, he could have had a great story instead of going into that cave, because obviously something should have clicked that said, wow, I know I lost a lot and I may be hurting right now, but obviously God has placed his hand on me. But he was so clouded with hurt. He was depressed, I'm sure. Now he's fearing that the same will happen to him, that he cannot see the favor that was placed upon him. Because why would God deliver you out of a situation like that only to take you right back out? He could have just left him there. But he couldn't have had enough of a prayer life. And I say that because, yes, trust me, there are some times where you will go through some things and you will not be able to say a prayer. But there is a minister, God rest his soul, he used to always say, put some prayers up on the shelf. In other words, have enough prayer life that you pray and you thank God every day, that when the days come that you can't say a word for yourself, God knows and he understands. Enough that whatever it is that you're going through in this life, that it will be enough to suffice you to get through the day, that you don't think that you have to have an ending before the end. Your dash can be great. Even the greatest people, when they had tests and trials and tribulations, you think anybody that's rich right now, they just got rich overnight? They had trials and tribulations. You think the NBA basketball teams, they win championships overnight? They don't give up. Even when they lose, they don't give up. Why? Because they know there's still another chance. You have to understand every day that you wake up, there's another chance to complete your dash. What will people remember about you? What will your impact be on people? What will they think when they hear your name? What will God think? And that's the most important part. When your name is spoken. Have you came out here and this ministry here, you all do some work that is wonderful. Will God say, well done, good and faithful servant? That's what you want to hear in your dash. You want to be able, the song say, if I can just help somebody as I travel along this way, then my living will not be in vain. Is your living going to be in vain? Remember, it doesn't have to end here.